All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We are going to label the muscular system. We're going to label both the anterior view as well as the posterior view. Okay, so the very first one that we have here, right here at the corner, is our, let me make some room on my desk. Give me just a second. There we go. So right here, we have our temporalis. You can see it right here on our side of our head. Okay, these two heads right here, these two muscles, one of my favorite muscles is the Sternocleidomastoid. The sternocleidomastoid. This big muscle we have right here is our Pectoralis Major. This muscle right here is our Biceps brachii. Then if we look right here, this small muscle is what is called the pronator. We have our brachioradialis right here. Next, we have the longest muscle in the body, which is our Sartorius. Sartorius. And then we are moving now into our quadriceps, which are these muscles right here. And so the very first one we have is our vastus lateralis, because it's on the lateral aspect of our thigh. So we have vastus lateralis. Next we have this one here, which is our rectus femoris or rectus femoris. I've heard it pronounced both ways. Just as long as you know what it is. Next we have, since this one was vastus lateralis, any guess at what this one might be? It's more medial, so it makes it vastus medialis. Let's see real quick on here. All right. Now take a look right here on the lateral aspect of our leg. We have what is known as the Fibularis Longus and brevis. However, it's also depicted as the Peroneus Longus and brevis. So I would encourage you to make sure you understand both of those names. I'm going to write them down real quick. So Fibularis and Peroneus. Make sure you know it by both of those names because the imblex could use those interchangeably. Okay, so make sure you know that that is both the Fibularis Longus and brevis and Peroneus Longus and brevis. Next, we have this muscle right here. It's easier to see on the posterior aspect of the leg. But right now, we'll go ahead and label it. It is our gastrocnemius. Gastrocnemius. Okay. Underneath the gastrocnemius, it's easier to see on the posterior aspect of the leg, which we'll label here in just a second. But we have what's known as the soleus. Next, we have this muscle, which runs all the way to the digit of our toes, and it is known as the extensor Digitorum Longus, and for short, the EDL. So let's take a look right here. EDL, Extensor Digitorum Longus. Right above it, we have our tibialis anterior. Right here, we have our adductor group muscles. There are 5 of them. Right here, we have our TFL. It is our tensor fascia lata. I'll show you how to spell it. Tensor fascia lata. It's one of my favorite muscles as well because I like to joke with the students and say that one of these days we should go to Starbucks and order a tensor fascia latte and see what they say. I think it'd be pretty funny. So TFL. Next, we have our external obliques. Right here. Then we have our rectus abdominis. Next, we have this muscle right here. Notice how it kind of has this back and forth look to it. It is known as the serratus anterior. Next, we have our deltoid. We have the upper fibers of the trapezius. And then lastly, we have the frontalis right there. Awesome. Let's check the back for the answers. Good deal. We're going to go ahead and move on now to the posterior view of the muscular system. All right, so this first one right here on the posterior aspect of our skull is the occipitalis. Then we have this one right here. Our triceps brachii. Next, we have our external oblique. Right here, we have the gluteus medius and the gluteus maximus. Funny thing about Maximus, my anatomy and physiology teacher in college, or professor, excuse me, she named her dog Maximus, so that's a pretty funny thing about gluteus maximus. Next, we have one of the adductors. One of the biggest ones that we have, largest adductors, is the Adductor Magnus. Adductor Magnus. All right, so pay attention here. It gets kind of tricky when it comes to the hamstrings. So our hamstrings, we have the biceps femoris, we have the semitendinosus, and we have the semimembranosus. And an easy way to memorize where the semitendinosus and the semimembranosus, look real close right here. You see how this one is more tendinous, real small and tendinous right here, and then underneath it, there's a larger one. Well, the one that's underneath is the semimembranosus. I'm going to write that down real quick and then I'll explain it. Semimembranosus, and then the one above is semitendinosus. And the way that I memorize which one goes where is I think of the membrane covers, and so the semitendinosus goes above it. So semimembranosus is deeper and semitendinosus is more superficial, and they are on the medial aspect of the thigh. Now the ones that are on the lateral aspect of the thigh are of our hamstrings is our biceps femoris or femoris, however you want to pronounce it, just as long as you know what it is. Okay? Next we have our Achilles tendon. We have our soleus, our gastrocnemius. We have a little piece right here of our Vastus Lateralis. Then we have this broad muscle that's on our back, known as the Latissimus Dorsi. Let me make sure I spell that right. It is Lat, Issimus, Dorsi. Lat, Issimus. There we go, Dorsi. All right, now we're starting to get into the rotator cuff muscles. We're right here underneath, we have what's known as the Teres Major, and right above it, the Teres Minor. So Teres Major, and above it, Teres Minor. The Teres Minor is one of the rotator cuff muscles. The Teres Major is not. Then we have our infraspinatus, another one of our rotator cuff muscles. And then we have our trapezius. Awesome. Let's check the answers. Looks good. Looks good. So if you want one of these laminated sheets, you can check out the Etsy account where I will send you one that I have created, custom made. There is also on the Etsy account a digital copy where you can just print this out and laminate it yourself. That way you can study and memorize the major muscles of the skeletal system. Also, I have the major bones as well as the major bony landmarks. So I would encourage you to check those out on the Etsy account if you are interested in getting these to study. I also will do the major bones and major landmarks on another live here pretty soon. But for now, I'm gonna get off of this live and go hang out with my little brother and do homeschooling with him, because that's what I do every weekend, is I go and hang out with him. So, and help him with his homeschooling. So I hope that this helps. If you're just now tuning in, I would encourage you to watch this after I post it here in a little bit. And if you are interested in purchasing these, check out the About Me section of this YouTube channel. Y'all have a wonderful weekend, and I will see y'all in the next video. Y'all take care.